Okay, there's 3 homilies today. You'll get out of Mass in an hour. It's not possible to retain all this information, but do the best you can, okay? The second reading, Paul is telling people to pray. Why? Because there are false prophets, there are letters, there are people talking about the end of the world. And they're getting all upset and nervous. If it was written today, you would include texts in this. Don't be disturbed by a text, or a TV show, or a novel. And what does he say as a remedy to being all worried and nervous about the end of the world and crisis time? What does he say as a remedy? Pray! Thank you. Someone got there. And you got guts. Good for you. Someone else knew the answer, but you got guts. God bless you. Pray! If you don't think that prayer will enhance every aspect of your life, you're not thinking straight. Prayer enhances everything. You got a test, you got a quiz, you're gonna get married, you're gonna decide where to work, where to drive, where to eat, whatever you're gonna do. Pray, pray, pray. We can't pray enough. I talk to monks, they don't pray enough. And when I'm in confession too often, this is my opinion, okay? When I hear sort of don't take it the wrong way, but I'll say this. An incomplete confession, I'll say, do you have a sense of humor? If they kind of waddle, that means no. It does. Well, okay, that means no. So I'm going to back off and just pray a minute. But if they say, yes, I do, it's a quick answer. It's a yes or no answer. Do you have a sense of humor now? I'll be surprised. A lot of people don't. But if they do, I'll say, look, can you pray more? And they'll usually, if I always have my confessions, but I can pray more, I can be more sensitive to other people, and I can always be more grateful. But when people say to me, you guys, that's what you're going to do. Can you pray more? Well, seriously? You want to argue with me about this? You pray as much as you can possibly pray? Nobody does. And you know what I mean by that? So pray more. Pray in the morning. Thank God for the day. Pray in the evening. Thank God for making it through the day. For your food. How many teenagers make the sign of the cross in their cafeterias before you eat your food? Not many of you. I don't know why. Looks pretty bold to me. If you do, God bless you. That's pretty cool. I'll wear a restaurant and I got the collar on. Every once in a while with my mom, I'll be so hungry after a mass and something else there eating. She said, you didn't say your prayers. It's very embarrassing when you're a priest in my uniform. Okay, so that's the first homily. This is the second homily. Friday was Thursday or Friday? My days are all together. Friday was All Saints Day. Saturday was All Souls Day. And we had the McHenry County prayer breakfast. I'm going to put those 3 together in the second homily. Catholics, second homily. Catholics can walk and chew gum at the same time. And I'm going to show you how. The single purpose for which we are attending this Mass this evening is to worship the Father through Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, who shed his blood on Calvary, offers us, if we accept it, a pathway into a full life and life everlasting. That's why we're here. At the same time, we can honor, not worship, his mother, our patron saints. All Saints Day is a way for the church to collectively, there's too many saints for all the days, there's 365 days a year, last time I checked. There's a lot more saints than that. So it's a day the church calls us a holy day of obligation to come together and one day honor all the saints. Father, does honoring the saints take anything away from our true worship of God? Absolutely not. Think about this. Is God so petty and jealous? He's up in heaven. Why are you talking about my mother? Why not focus on me? Sounds like a little spoiled brat youngest child. That would be me. What it sounds like. God's not a spoiled brat youngest child. That's me. God's like, you want to talk about my mother? That's awesome. I made one of my greatest handiworks, wasn't she? How about St. Ignatius? How about St. Francis? Great guys, huh? I did good with them. And they're human. And they're weak like us. And they make mistakes like us. But in a singular way, God shines his power through them. So we want to emulate them. We in a spiritual way envy them in a holy way because we want their virtues. We want to be like them. My dad's been dead a very long time. But every chance I get around, when I talk to real men, I know my dad's coming out of me because he gave me some of the best examples of leadership and confidence and directedness. For some, don't take this the wrong way, weaker people, it's a huge turnoff. You got way too much energy, Father. I just can't take it. I understand that. And I'm not your cup of tea. But the more greedy people, not just men, I know women like this too, they like directness. Because for the people who are great like myself, we grew up with directness. And if I may dare say so, I don't think anyone got done talking to Jesus and said, I wonder what he meant. He was straightforward. So, So I want to emulate my father in these certain ways. I want to emulate the saints in certain ways. You should know your patron saint. What's he good for? What's he known for? And how can he help you? And it doesn't in any way conflict with our singular purpose in worshiping God. We can do both. Now, All Souls Day, very important day. I have deceased relatives, my brother, my father, my grandmother, I'm sure tons of uncles and aunts and other people. I pray for them like they're in purgatory. I want to think of them in heaven, but I pray for them in purgatory. And Father, why do Catholics believe in purgatory? I'll tell you why. Ready? I don't believe in purgatory. Okay, be open-minded. John Paul II was almost killed by an assassin. The guy who shot him was in jail. John Paul II got healed, walked over to the prison. The Italian cops, the police officers let him in. He said to the guy who shot him, you know what? I forgive you. You think the Pope was telling the truth? He's going to be a saint soon. I think he did. He was telling the truth. What did the Pope do? I forgive you. The guy started crying. He walked out of the cell. What did the guy do? He stayed in jail. That's his punishment. Was he forgiven? Yes. Are you forgiven when you go to confession? Yes. But what made you do it? It stays with you. And that's the stuff of purgatory. We get purified of it. We get purged of it. Example number 2. Everyone loves grandma. Why? Yes, grandma give away free things. That's why it's easier for your grandma than a mother. As a matter of fact, I suspect that the lieutenant wants to be a captain, wants to be a major, wants to be a colonel. Mom wants to be a grandma. But hey, not too quickly. You know what I mean? In due time. Because grandma's got a sweet kid. They just give stuff away. Now, you're playing in the yard. Your kids are 6 and 8. You're playing in the yard. Well, grandma's coming over. Billy and Susie go, hey, grandma's coming over. This is great. Let's go see grandma. She's got stuff for us. What did mom say? No, you were playing in the yard. First, what? Clean up. It makes perfect sense. We're going to look at the opposite of this. There's no purgatory. You're telling me you're such a good person, you're going to die and just waltz into God's heavenly kingdom. I'm here. Where's the party? Where's my crowd? Where's the gifts? I want to learn how to fly. No, you got to go. Purgatory makes perfect sense. The church has declared this teaching on a high level, and you have to believe it. And it makes perfect sense. Now, once a soul, once a baby, once there's fertilization, once there's conception, the church has always maintained, and science pretty much definitively agrees with us, there's animation, there's life. The church calls it soul. Now, at the prayer breakfast, the McHenry County prayer breakfast, obviously it was about pro-life. They had a speaker who does these videos, Louis somebody or other, nice guy. I recommend his work. Here's what he said. Since Roe versus Wade became legal, 55 million babies have been killed. Listen to this, 55 million. In 1 year, almost 1 million. Here's what he said. World War I, World War II, Korea, and if you think Korea is a conflict, I think it's a war. You tell me later how it's a conflict. A conflict is what happens with being a pastor after this homily. That's a conflict. A war is when there's flags waving and bullets flying. That's my definition of a war. So I'm going on this one, okay? Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, Afghanistan, and Iraq. All those dead people who shed their blood for the sake of our freedoms and liberty do not equal the amount of people killed in abortion in 1 year. Wow! And all those kids, they're alive. They're alive. You can't kill a soul. Once it's there, you can't kill it. You kill a body. That was a profound statistic for me. It was really gut-wrenching. And what do people do? And if you're a teenager, and if you walk out of this mass, if this subject comes up, and I'm around and I hear you, and you say, whatever, that's not cool. That is totally not cool. You should have an opinion. You should form positions on matters of life, liberty, and what constitutes the American dream. You should. You don't want to be passed around by every wind that circles in the atmosphere. You want direction in your life. You want certain principles and values that guide you. Start with this one. Everybody has a right, not by government, but by God, to be alive. That's a sweet right to protect. That's a sweet right to stand up for. And if you get persecuted for standing up for that right, I have great suspicion God will reward you. And I believe the young people are coming on our side more and more in this issue. Okay, so that was Friday, Saturday, and the breakfast. Now for today's homily. Let's get to today's homily. He wasn't just a tax collector. What kind of tax collector was he? Well, they're all cheats. Chief, sorry, I got confused there. No, I'm sorry. But in the Old Testament, a tax collector almost always meant he was a chief. Why? He was in collusion with the Romans. He was a Jew in collusion with the Romans, exploiting his own people. This guy was the boss of the bosses. What do they say in Italian? You know, like 4 Italian phrases. Capo di tutti capo. He's the boss of the chiefs, this guy. He's a bad guy, and he's a little guy. And for whatever reason, he was unacceptable. His own people didn't like him. He was ostracized. He was alienated. They said bad things about him. Everybody judged him and gossiped about him. And what did Jesus do? That's not Jesus. That's why I love Jesus. Reason 1,747,246. He goes after this guy. It's not enough for Jesus for someone just to be a bad guy. Jesus says, you're unacceptable. I find you acceptable. Come, I'm calling you. Don't you love that about Jesus? You and I didn't love him first. He loved us first. We didn't call him first. He called us first. I love that about God. No matter where you are, falling down, falling away, paying attention, whatever, God still loves you and has a huge plan for you and a purpose for you. And I'm going to talk to the kids after this, so many didn't go to Mass today. And my whole point of talking to the proclamation is I want you to hear this stuff. Don't think the devil is actively pursuing to keep people in whatever land. It's actually funny. Whatever land. They should mean something else, whatever land. Now it means, oh, we know, whatever. I don't like that land. Stop thinking about it. The devil has the best interest to keep you in that land. God wants to awaken your consciousness to how blessed you are. The purpose-filled life that you have. The destiny of being in heaven forever. So Zacchaeus meets the gaze of Christ and is given grace. What does grace enable Zacchaeus to do? As soon as he locks eyes with Christ, he comes down. Symbolic of, he gets off his high horse. He gets off his self-absorption. We are all, look, we might not see it this way. There's a degree in all of us of self-absorption. I'm into myself. How does this situation affect me? I'm sorry to say this, I'm wrong. I'm going to give a talk at 7 o'clock, the confirmation 1 and 2. This is my opinion. I don't want to put a percentage on it. So when you ask me privately, I'll give you a number of gravity. A lot of young people are saying, how do I get through this thing to please Mom and just get it over with? They're not buying into it. Many people are not buying into it. They're not getting the larger point. We are all at a certain level egotistical and self-interested, especially Father Simon. Much more than me. Much more than me. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Tell him he says so. No, I'm kidding. Well, we are self-absorbed. So you meet Christ. Here's the process. It's real simple. You meet Christ because he goes after you. He goes after me. He doesn't leave us alone. He knocks on the doors of our heart. He awakens our conscience. And he says, come back to me. And we go, if we're decent people, if we have goodwill, Jesus, yes, I'll come down. I'll get off my high horse. I'll get off my perch where I'm the big judge and juror. I know more than everybody else. And I'll lower myself for it so I can humble myself so I can do what you asked me to do. What does he end up doing? This guy has an amazing conversion. It's grace, the meaning of Christ, that leads to his change of heart, which we call conversion. He says, anybody I defrauded, what does that? Talk about a deal. Anyone I defrauded, I'll pay him back 4 times. Wow! Imagine the line that I had outside his door. And if it was happening in America in 2013, maybe even bigger line of people, he didn't even know money to looking for the money. Yeah, you really want to catch that one. Right? Okay, good. Let's move on. So grace leads to conversion, which leads to charity. Father, this holiday can't get any better. Oh, yes, it can. There's one more point. Grace leads to conversion, leads to charity, and now the final one. Jesus says this, Zacchaeus, today salvation has come to this house. That's why I'm Catholic. I'm going to receive communion. That's why I'm here. God, salvation, is going to come through Holy Communion. Right in here. And if I'm paying attention, if I'm graceful, if I'm open to changing, if I have charity, I'm going to make a nice clean place for God to be born in my heart in this Holy Mass. My dear friends, I thank the Lord for you every day, and I pray for you. Pray for me. And let's be mindful that of all the reasons why we've come here, we want God to be more in our hearts today because salvation is visiting us.